All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is Lower Your Blood Pressure Naturally, our first Monday Zoom class. And I just want to thank you guys for joining. This will be recorded so it can go out onto our group space. If you guys have had any trouble connecting to our group site, do let me know because I'll make sure we get that worked out so you are able to see all of the things that we have available for you to do. So once you get into the Trainerize app, into our virtual gym, you should see the lower blood pressure group, and you can click on that and see our scroll. That will give you everything that's posted. It's opposite of Facebook. It posts at the bottom. So you'd have to scroll back if you want to see other things that have been posted. So that you have that option. Plus, you can click on your calendar and go in and see the calendar of all the activities that I have planned for you, for relaxation, for getting some cardio in, for getting in some strength or resistance training. And those are all on the calendar. You can click on those and they should open up for you. For example, if you want to watch the sodium presentation, again, sometime you should be able to click on that and open it up, or any of the relaxation programs. If you want to do those, you can click on those and open those up. Those are also in the group feed, so you can always find them in there as well. And you guys are welcome to post to the group feed if you have information you want to share. So just so you know that. So your first step was picking up your booklets. If you haven't been able to do that yet, if you could get that in the next day or two, because it's really important that you begin to track. We're going to track sodium here right away. I've got a checklist here I'm kind of going through. So you do also then want to check out the calendar for all the daily activities. And again, I don't want to stress people out. That's not what this is all about, but they're recommendations for what you should do to help you to lower blood pressure. So getting in that 150 minutes of cardio a week, getting into 20 minutes strength resistant trainings per week. And then the relaxation, it's been shown that meditation in the different forms has been able to modestly lower high blood pressure, but a couple of them, transcendental meditation and also the deep breathing technique, those can help lower blood pressure even more. But the thing is, you have to practice them like anything, and kind of get into that zone with meditation. And so we'll be practicing different techniques as we go through the class. If you do have your book, this is what it looks like. On page 4 and 5 of your book, it gives the recommendations for you based on the number of calories you want to take in, whether you're male or female, for some of the nutrients. And I just want you to take that page, those pages, and then go to page 20 and 21. On page 20, you can begin to write in your individual goals. So based on the recommendations from pages 4 and 5, so that you have your very own cheat sheet. So these are the nutrients that we'll be tracking, and it shows the food groups as well on there. And then each day we'll have a tracking page. And so as you can see, I've started to write my stuff in for the day. And what we want to track the most this first week is sodium. We'll be tracking sodium all month because I think it's really important that we realize and find out what sources of sodium that we are taking in our bodies. So what are your major foods that you're eating that are bringing up that sodium level? So that's where I want you to start tracking. And again, today we're focusing on sodium, and then we'll also do a short breathing meditation at the end. And then on Thursday, we'll move on to looking at calcium as our nutrient, and we'll do a transcendental meditation on that day. Back to my cheat sheet here. If you have any questions on any food nutrient values, something that you eat commonly. When I was making the booklet out, I was looking for the sources of the most potassium and calcium rich foods, and then focusing on the foods that I was eating commonly. So there's a lot of information in here as you go through on if you have a certain drink or a certain food, how much potassium and calcium, magnesium, and sodium you'll get from those foods. But if you have certain foods that you're eating that I didn't include, or any questions as we go through the classes here, make sure that you email me. And once a week, I will try to do some FAQs or get something typed up with some of the other foods that you guys are specifically looking at. Now, if the food is labeled, it's much easier to find some of those levels, but they don't always include, the older labels don't include potassium, and many of the newer labels don't include the magnesium. So I can try and look for some sources on those foods if you need that. The entire class now is being presented again via Zoom at 12:30 on Mondays and Thursdays. And so if you can't make it to the 11:30 class and you can make it to 12:30 Zoom, that's great. If you can't make it to either, this will be recorded and put out into our group space, so you'll be able to view it there as well. So I'm just going to start with sodium overview. Let's see if I can go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so as far as sodium, this is our first class in lower blood pressure naturally. And the first main thing that we want to focus on is decreasing that sodium. I've got my information on there. Most of you guys know where to find me or how to reach me here at the Rec Center. I've emailed you, or you can also reach me through the virtual gym as well. So let's see if I can get this to move. Yes. So what we're looking at is the DASH diet trials. They were done back in the 1990s, and they did the sodium level at 2 different levels when they did these tests. And one of them was 2,300 milligrams, and the other level was 1,500 milligrams. And what they found is getting people to eat a DASH diet and to eat at the 1,500 milligram level, a lot of people were able to get off one of their blood pressure medications. So if you're on one medication, you might be able to go completely off. If you're on 2, you might be able to go off of one of those medications. That is always something that you want to work with and talk to your doctor about. So don't go off those medications on your own. Most people that were in the DASH diet trials were started to see lower blood pressure within 2 weeks or so. So it has a very rapid effect on the body when you start to decrease that sodium and eat the other nutrient-rich foods that we will cover during the course of this class. And also the American Heart Association now recommends 1,500 milligrams for all adults, just because of the amount of sodium that we are taking in, which is in general about 3,400 milligrams on average. So moving on, sources of sodium in our diet. Just so you're aware, we just want to be aware of those foods. So animal foods, so just like us, we have sodium running through our cells, running through our bloodstream. Our animal foods are also going to have sodium in them. In particular, meats and dairy foods. But if you think about deli meats and foods, those have been processed even more and had even more sodium added. So those are things that we're probably going to want to stay away from on a low sodium diet. Your root vegetables are going to have a little bit more sodium than some of your other vegetables and fruits. They all pick up some naturally from the soil, but the root vegetables tend to be underground, so they will actually have a little bit more sodium in them. So our major contributor of sodium in the diet is our processed foods. So crackers and chips and salted nuts. Bread is actually the #1 source of sodium in the diet, and not because it's overly rich in sodium, it's because we eat so much of it. So if we can reduce the amount of bread in the diet, we can certainly reduce the amount of sodium that we're taking in as well. You want to look at the cookies, the ones you bake or the ones that you buy boxed, cakes, baking mixes. Condiments are notoriously high in sodium. You know, if you look at the ketchups and the mustards, um, soy sauces, teriyaki sauces, fish sauces, all of those help to make our food taste better, enhance the flavor. So those are very high in sodium. Also look at box cereals, soups. You know, if you're buying canned soup, even if it says low sodium on it, most of the time it's still pretty high in sodium when we want to stick to that 1500 milligram level. Broths, even though they say low sodium, again, same thing, they can be very high in sodium still. So soups and broths, those might be something that you want to start to make in your own kitchen. And then you also want to be very careful about frozen meals because they can have like your whole day's supply of sodium in one frozen meal. So you really need to be careful and avoid those or look for low sodium varieties if you can find those. Other sources of sodium are pickled foods, or foods that we find in the salt brine. So, you know, olives are salty, our pickles, a lot of times you might see asparagus or other things brined in salt. So you want to be leery of overdoing on those. You want to watch the beverages. So our electrolyte drinks, those are going to be high in sodium, usually potassium as well. But those can, if you're drinking a lot of those can add up. Some of our alcoholic beverages. So if you're drinking a Bloody Mary or drinking a margarita, you want to pay attention to how much sodium are in those drinks. Milk is going to have natural sodium in it since it's an animal product, but it also has a lot of potassium in it and a lot of other good nutrients, including magnesium, that are good for blood pressure. So those might be ones that you want to consider getting, or you might want to consider getting some milk into the diet. Maybe 1 cup of milk a day and maybe a serving of yogurt or something like that. And then pop. I know clients that drink a lot of pop every day, and then sodium can become an issue. So even though there might only be 60 milligrams in a cup or so, they might be drinking 10 cups a day. So that gets to really add up. So you got to watch that amount of pop that you're taking in. Eating out, if you're eating out frequently, we know that restaurants are going to add salt, fat, and sugar to their food because those are the things that make it taste good, that keep us coming back for more. So just know that you might want to look ahead at the menu and find out what kind of options you might have if you're going to a particular restaurant. And then, of course, any salt that you add at the table. So if you do have high blood pressure, I really recommend you don't add any salt on your own. We just have one more slide here. So how do you go about reducing sodium in your diet? Well, first of all, using our booklet, you're going to track the amount of sodium that you're taking in. And it's really important that you start to see what foods that you are eating that might really be contributing to a high sodium intake in your diet. So doing that, tracking that sodium in the booklet, we're going to do that for the entire month that we're taking the class here. You might want to find recipes to make your own condiments or to make your own soup broths. Those can help to reduce the amount of sodium that you're taking in, so you don't have to buy the boxed ones off the shelves that have more sodium in them. Avoid using that salt shaker. You can reduce or remove sodium in the recipes that you prepare. So baking is a science. So I tell people if you want to reduce the sodium in a baked good that you're making, just reduce it by half, because that salt is important for the baking process. But if you are cooking something on the stovetop, cooking is an art, right? So we can remove that sodium and add other flavors or substitutes there. So keep that in mind as you're making your own food. You can find alternative products that you can use. So Look for those no salt added canned foods or low sodium canned foods, and just make sure you read the label and know how much is in there and how much you could reasonably have for a serving. And then the Mrs. Dash no sodium spice blends, and I'll show you when I click out of here, so when I have my bigger picture back. I'll show you some of those. And then, Bragg nutritional yeast with a little olive oil over some air popped popcorn. That could be a better choice than heavily buttered and salted popcorn. If you choose mostly fresh or frozen foods, those are going to have lower sodium amounts. Again, when eating out, check that menu online before you go out so you can find those lower sodium options, or make sure you save up some of that, your sodium for the day, so that you can have a little bit higher sodium option if that's what you choose to do. And then again, tracking that sodium intake is key so that you know where you're at and where you can reduce. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and go back here. Let's see, stop share. There we go. So just to show you these products, you've probably seen some of the Mrs. Dash. She's got tons of different flavorings that you can pick up in most any grocery store around here. She does also have some blends. So for example, the fajita blend, but I did have to order this online. I didn't find it anywhere around here. So I got the fajita, and I also got the taco blend. So those don't have any sodium in them, so you can feel safe using those. You do need to watch it if you're buying like chili powder or garlic powder, that those don't have added salt in them. So pay attention to that. What is the current recommendation for blood pressure? 120 over 80. So yes, 120 over 80 is like the recommended normal blood pressure. I don't think they get too concerned until like you start to creep up. I think if I remember right, stage 1 hypertension is like maybe 150 over 90, or I'll have to double check the numbers, but that you do want to try to get it as close to 120 over 80 as you can through diet, exercise, relaxation, definitely. One other thing I wanted to show you from Marinade from Mrs. Dash, and again, I bought this online, and she had some other ones too. She had a garlic blend. She had a lime one as well. But these are available and can help flavor your food without that extra sodium. So do you guys have any questions on what I've presented so far? If not, I was going to go ahead and play a relaxation. And when I start playing this, I want to make sure that you guys can hear it. The one I'm going to play is from Mesmerize, which is an app, and you pay an annual fee for it, but it has a lot of different sleeping, meditation, autogenic training, a lot of different things that we're going to experiment with on. When you go and click on your calendar today, I also put a breath work out there that I put together. So there are some of my own tapes out there, but I don't do that for a living. So I did want to throw in some of these other professional ones that you guys could listen to. If you do work at Collins, I believe you can get the Calm app for free. I believe that they bought a business license to it. So you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong there, but someone told me that if you work for Collins, that you do have access to the Calm app and getting it free and putting it on your phone so that you can listen to it at night. They've got really nice music, nice meditations, sleep stories, different things that can help relax you when you can find that time during the day. So I'm going to go ahead and start this Mesmerize, and I'll turn it way up, and we'll see if you guys can hear it. Can you hear some soft music?
Yes.
Okay, good. She'll go into a just talk here, and it will. This one lasts 11 minutes.
Welcome. Find a resting position that's comfortable and supportive. Ideally, one where your spine is straight and you can breathe fully. And if you're ready, let your attention move over your body and notice any muscle tension that may be unnecessary. And see if this can ease just a little. Can you choose to attend to this collage of sensations? Practicing attuning to all that you can feel, both inside and out. Maybe finding that as you breathe, this distinction between inside and out begins to fade, like a drawing in the sand during a gentle breeze. In a few moments, you're going to hear a breathing guide. Your goal will be simply to match the pace of the breathing you hear. Gently. Take a less is more approach, staying well within your comfort, and breathe in a way that feels good. And let's begin. Breathing in gently, and out softly. On your own. For a few breaths. Dropping into this moment. Awake and alive. And releasing any holding. Not too deep. Slow and quiet. Expanding. And letting go. Finding the rhythm. And riding the wave. With each breath, dropping in a little more. Feeling the sensations of release. The sense of aliveness. Stillness and peace. Finding harmony. Within change. As you wake up and relax downward. Not forcing or holding. Breathing with ease filling up and becoming empty. If thoughts come up, just acknowledge them and return to this breath, letting them go, finding a bit of space. And maybe some clarity. In each breath, in each moment. Finding presence without judgment. Thoughts may come, just as they may go. If you decide to let them go and return to this breath, which is gentle and peaceful. And all there is this moment. Your breath and your awareness. Maybe tuning in to the feeling of open space. Even the silences are alive. As we begin to conclude, maybe decide now to bring with you sense of space. Throughout your day, now gently returning your awareness to the room around you, and gently stretching or wiggling with one final sigh, bringing your attention fully back to your surroundings and transitioning into your next activity. Thank you for your practice. May you be well.
So that was again breathing from Mesmerize. So if you are interested in looking into some of these apps, do you guys have any questions for me? I see you chatted at me. Good. Royce answered your question, Kathy.
Oh, you did?
Well,
I didn't look at that.
yeah, it looks like, what is the current recommendation for blood pressure? 120 over 80, depending on your age, but that is the recommendation. So the closer you can get it to that through, medication or diet or exercise, lifestyle techniques. And then also I do feel like we can bring it down with some deep breathing and some meditation techniques as well. So it's not going to happen right away. The diet can help very rapidly, but the meditation takes some time to learn and get into. So do you guys have any other questions?
Well, I was wondering, Sandra, you mentioned dairy, and I haven't been a big dairy person. I, use nut milks, but I also just recently been diagnosed with osteoporosis. Does it matter what kind of milk or yogurt? 1% skim, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I definitely believe in the lower fat milk, so skim if possible. And the reason is because our saturated fats do contribute to the lousy cholesterol in the body, and that LDL can make your arteries, your vessels more rigid. So if you're picturing your insides of your body, you want your arteries to be pliable. You want them to be kind of soft and loose. You don't want them to get rigid. And a high sugar diet and a high saturated fat diet can contribute to those arteries being more sticky. So, Royce put another question. Oh, did that answer your question, Kathy?
Yes. Thank you.
And I personally, I didn't do milk for a long time, and I went ahead and did went back to lactose-free milk, and I'm not having any problem with that. And I'm doing one of those a day, and I'm doing a plain yogurt with berries, that kind of thing.
Okay. Very good suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can look in the booklet too, and it will tell you the amount of calcium and potassium. There's just really no other foods that contribute to calcium as much as our dairy products do. And you can get the fortified nut milks, but you're probably not going to get the magnesium and the potassium that you get with the dairy foods from.
What about a supplement, a calcium supplement?
I think that's okay to take a little bit. You want to try to get some of it from your food. When they did the DASH diet studies, they did determine that supplementing was not as effective as getting the components from your food. So I think there's a lot of synergy in food that we don't know about yet. And so I think that's why it's important to get as much as you can from your food. But if you cannot reach that, 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day of calcium, then you might want to supplement, 500 milligrams or so.
Okay, thank you.
Royce, you had another question. Let me go look here again. My opinion on light potassium salt. I am not a big fan of that. And the reason is because potassium and sodium control your heart so much. Some people can really overdo on the potassium salt, and they end up, if their kidneys aren't functioning well, which can happen with diabetes and high blood pressure, kidney disease. If your kidneys aren't functioning as well, your potassium level can go up too much. It doesn't tend to do that with the foods that we're eating naturally, but unless your doctor has put you on a low potassium diet, then that would be something that you would want to pay attention to as well. But I, in general, don't recommend the potassium salts. I think, is it called new salt or no salt or something like that? But you know, I would recommend that you try to find other, maybe some of Mrs. Dash or some other blends that you can use, because that way you won't be, you know, messing up that chemistry. We have a sodium potassium pump in our body, and it's really important that we keep it, you know, in a good balance. So, great question, though. Any other questions?
Yes, I don't have any.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and go. I did schedule Zoom meetings now for Thursdays as well. So again, you can join those if you can't make it into class, or they will be recorded like this one, and I'll put it out on the site later, on our group site later today. So hope you enjoyed it. And on Thursday, we'll be doing some transcendental meditation, and we'll be talking about calcium, the importance of calcium. So, all right, I'll let you guys get going. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.